Hello everyone, it's One Dragon here, and we're back with another Cyberpunk 2077 video. This time we're specifically looking at vendor prices. Now, a lot of people have been quite concerned about the changes and nerfs to the money glitches or duplication glitches that people used in the past. I personally never found the need to use this. However, there have been significant changes to the cost of quite a few different things that we're going to go through today. So in this video, we're going to look at three major things. The first thing will be the items at weapon vendors. Second thing will be modifications at clothing stores. And the third thing will be looking at some of the cyberware modifications, specifically looking at the Karoshi stuff. I won't look at the whole list of cyberware items, but I'm pretty sure some of those have had some price changes as well. Let's take a look at this vendor as an example. Just before I start explaining, I am level 50, so a lot of the items are going to be at a level 50 cost, and I'll show you by swapping to a lower level character later.
Okay.
The first thing that we are going to look at are the legendary weapons themselves. Now, normally in the past, these would cost somewhere around 300,000-ish, 200 to 300,000, give or take. Now they've been significantly reduced to under 100,000. This means that not going into the crafting tree has suddenly become more viable as you play through the game. Okay? Another change, which is huge, absolutely huge for crafting, is look at the cost of this legendary component. Previously, the cost was 1,000. Now it is 55 eddies. So these are significantly reduced prices for the components. These components as well, 23 eddies. I believe they were 250 eddies each, or maybe 500. 23 eddies. The rare components, I think it was 150. I don't remember the exact price, but now it's 15. The prices have been slashed significantly. This means that you may not necessarily need to do any of the
What do you want?
previous glitches that you had before. And I'd say the most expensive thing that you would need to buy now would be the vehicles, but with the cost reduction of the components, hopefully it makes it so you don't need to look for those major exploits anymore. Now, if you notice as well at that vendor, it did not have some of the cheaper components, the common and uncommon ones. So what we're going to do is load and take a look at one of the earlier vendors as well, just to showcase some of the other changes in case people are wondering about this. So now we're here at an early vendor. This one is Wilson, and we can see that there are some changed items in terms of components that you can buy from him. Now you can buy the common components here for 5 eddies, which is again significantly cheaper. The uncommon for 8 eddies. Got the rare, which we saw before, and the epic. You'll notice that he doesn't stock legendary components anymore, which in my opinion is fine because you don't necessarily need legendary weapons in part 1, or in act 1, sorry. But in more later game vendors, you can buy the legendary components. So there has been a change in inventory as well. Now, something we're going to check real quick is, does the price actually scale down? And we're on a level 20 character here. I assume the components stay the same, but maybe the weapons are cheaper. We can see from, look at this rifle, that the price is about less than half, and that's to be expected considering that I'm roughly, I'm less than half of the level of my level 50. So the price does scale with your level, which makes sense. However, it is, fairly worth it for a legendary item with really good stats on a level 20. I'm just going to check, but yeah, we can see that the components are still the same price, which is fairly cheap. We're also going to quickly check the clothing vendor.
I like your style. I think I'll buy something.
What do you mean, think? Sweetheart, don't think. Just put something on and shine.
Okay, so legendaries, fairly expensive at 24k, but that's to be expected, as we mentioned before. But it's not the same price as when you're at level 50. So the price does scale down in the early game. Perfect. Now, this is the next thing that I was going to showcase. I believe the Deadeye mod before this patch was something at like 140,000 eddies. Now we can see it is a very cheap cost of 726 eddies at any level. Not to mention, there is price reduced for the other clothing mods as well. So this means that you don't necessarily need a huge amount of money to be OP in the early game. You can simply come and buy these modifications for a fairly cheap price. So that's clothing mods for you. The last thing that we're going to check out is Karoshi Modifications.
Have a look.
Alright, so don't forget, click on the trade tab here, and immediately we can see, oh well, I guess we'll look at this first. Perk respecking. It looks like it's 25,000 instead of 250,000, so they cut it by 9/10, or it's now 1/10 of the price. They slashed the 0 off there, if I'm remembering the price correctly. And this used to be, I think, probably the most expensive thing in the game, the crafting spec of trajectory analysis. I think it used to be 520,000 eddies. Now it's 8,250. And the trajectory analysis mod itself used to be very expensive too, but it's now at an affordable price of 6,490. I highly recommend you get these mods for your Kiroshi optics. Admittedly, when we're looking at these clothing mods, the price doesn't necessarily matter if they don't work. So previously the Deadeye mod didn't work, and there might be a chance that some of these modifications now stack and work. We'll notice that the Fortuna mod and the Deadeye mod actually have some nerf statistics in them. So my assumption is, without testing them too much yet, is that they do actually stack because they nerfed the stats on them too. So the next video that we're going to do is do some basic testing of these modifications to see whether or not they stack. My assumption is that they do. Just a quick summary for everybody. There's been significant cost reduction in the crafting components, the weapon vendor items, the clothing modification costs, and the Kiroshi, and maybe some cyberware as well that you have to check out. The most expensive thing in the game, I'd say right now, is most likely going to be your vehicles at this point. And maybe like if you really want to go and collect every single piece of legendary clothing. So overall, I think that this is a nice change to the health of the game. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think that these are all changes that are better for the game overall, and I'm happy that it's gone in this direction. However, we need to first test some of these modifications to see if they work, and hopefully they continue to do this sort of stuff. Thanks, Chooms. I'll see you guys later.